So Dean Guthrie, over the weekend you wrote about state involvement in the economy and whether it was good or bad, and specifically why China is moving ahead of the United States in terms of production and manufacturing of green technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. The first thing, I think it's important to take a step back and really understand how stuck in this discussion or this debate we are in the United States. We tend to always think about state involvement in the economy as government inefficiency versus private innovation. And I just think that while it is true that a lot of government bureaucracies are less efficient than private organizations, there are plenty of examples in which governments really take very effective initiatives in helping to guide the economy. And having an organization or an entity that is cross-industry that's helping to guide the economy is not always necessarily a bad thing. And we should note that there are many private, so-called private or publicly traded organizations, those that are non-governmental, that have been wildly inefficient in our economy. And so it's just a much more complex discussion. Now, in the case of China, what I had written about this weekend was the issue of green technology. So it's a big initiative in this country to really be thinking about why are we so far behind in green technology? Where can we go? And many experts, myself included, but there are many people who are in the venture capital world. John Doerr, for example, of Kleiner Perkins, David Barboza wrote about this in the New York Times last week, who are talking about China's just rocketing ahead of the United States in the development of green technology. And there's an interesting question as to why. And I think the reason has a couple of layers to it. The first is that it's really important to understand that a state-owned set of initiatives in China are actually much more efficient and much more oriented towards the strategic initiatives of the Chinese government than they are in the United States. So in the United States, our general process is the government can talk about things that are good. So the Obama administration has been talking about how important it is to have green technology and green initiatives. But besides putting aside tax credits for it, he or the administration can't really do much. We sort of wait for venture capitalists to come in and fill that void. Well, venture capitalists will only fill that void if they actually see an exit opportunity in the market. And it's not clear right now that we're getting that exit opportunity in the market. China doesn't have to wait for that. China has commitments by the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission, which is a very important and powerful organization in terms of guiding cross-industry coordination in the economy. And they can just decide, okay, we're going to invest in green technology and we're going to push manufacturing organizations in this direction. The second thing to understand, though, is that China is not the first example that we've seen of this. The development story of Asia over the last 40 years, and many development scholars have been studying this, have told stories of South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, that have all done well under state-guided investment. The third thing that's important to understand is that even in the U.S., while we think that all kinds of innovation only comes out of the private sector, that's not even been true historically. Probably the biggest force of innovation over the last 20 years has been the internet. And the internet was developed by the Department of Defense. It was originally called DARPANET, and it developed out of that type of innovative stream. And eventually, it was because of its commercialization and the engagement with the private sector that we actually have the kind of exciting innovation in this sector that we all prize and cherish and is driving some aspects of the economy. And so I think it's just important to understand that in the U.S., while we're stuck in this debate of only the private sector can innovate and governments are fundamentally inefficient, China is actually just moving ahead aggressively in investing in technologies. And so I would just caution us to think about being deadlocked in that issue politically, but also to take lessons from China's push in the development of new technologies. And I think that that's really what the core of the issue is. Thank you.